In today's video, you'll learn the fastest way to add some interesting motion to your Figma brand guidelines. Usually these style guides are just boring static PDFs, but today we're changing that by taking static Figma designs and quickly moving them into After Effects, where we can add any motion we like using a free plugin. I'm K-Woo, and we're adding motion to brand design. As motion brand designers, we use Figma to create our brand guidelines because these will not be static PDF documents. Figma allows us to make digital brand guidelines, which can be hosted as live websites, giving us the ability to share style guides via a simple link, as well as add motion to brand elements that can be interactive in some cases. Offering digital brand guidelines takes your design services to the next level and lets you charge higher rates to clients. Showcasing motion digitally adds depth and dimension to the brand, which enhances its identity and increases its perceived value. Watch this video all the way to the end to learn how to add simple movement to your brand guidelines. And if you're interested in some of the paid plugins to help move Figma design files between lots of software, I'll mention a few popular ones at the end as well. This is a pretty quick process and doesn't need to be overcomplicated. The fastest way to move brand guidelines from Figma into Adobe After Effects is through the free plugin called AEUX. It's available and free to download from the website that's in the description. I'll walk you through how to install it for Mac, but Windows has similar steps. During the installation process, Figma should be open. I'm using the desktop app. Download the latest version of the plugin AEUX for Mac from google.github.io/AEUX. You'll need a ZXP installer to complete the installation. One of these are available on AEscripts.com for free, and I've also linked that in the description. I already have one installed on my system, so I won't be going over that step. Drag and drop the .zxp file into the window of the ZXP installer. It'll automatically add AEUX to After Effects. Let's quickly launch After Effects so we can see that it's been successfully installed. Inside After Effects, we can create a new project, a new comp, it doesn't matter the size, and we want to go up to Windows, Extensions, we should see AEUX. Next, we have to configure AEUX for Figma. Locate the folder we downloaded from Google GitHub and find the manifest.json file. Inside of Figma, open any document. Right-click on the canvas, go to Plugins, Development, and import plugin from Manifest. You want to find that JSON file and press open. And congratulations, just that easy, AEUX has been successfully configured for After Effects and Figma. I would consider creating a keyboard shortcut for a faster launch of the plugin inside of Figma. By going to System Preferences and Keyboard, once you find keyboard shortcuts, you can add the app Figma and write AEUX with a custom shortcut code. I use Option-Command-Shift-X, and that will relaunch and refresh the plugin anytime you're inside the software. The AEUX plugin has three simple options. The first option takes whatever frame or element is selected and instantly sends it to After Effects. The second option exports a reference image by sending a PNG image of the frame to After Effects and acts as a guide layer. Occasionally, elements move slightly during transfer, and we can properly align everything based upon the reference image, which is a pixel-perfect representation of the design we created in Figma. This works well for elements such as vector logos, text layers, things that may have some misalignment during the transfer process. However, for me, this step caused an issue, and I'll show you that once I transferred it over, the reference image did not come over as the way we needed it. My recommendation is to use the native export from Figma to download a PNG of the frame. That way you'll have your own reference image that works perfectly fine that you can import into After Effects. The third and final option allows us to rasterize a layer on export. Once this is pressed, an asterisk is added next to the layer in the panel on the left-hand side. That specific element will become a PNG in After Effects upon export. This is handy for older logos that might have lots of detailed with decorative ornaments that wasn't quite made for digital screens. It is also good for elements that you don't need the full control of when you're animating. Things that just need to do a simple appearance or a simple movement that doesn't have to be controlled individually layer by layer. We can rasterize these elements and frames so that it makes it a little bit easier in the export process by reducing the number of layers we have to keep track of in After Effects. There are a few ways we can optimize this workflow when moving design files from Figma into After Effects. Start by creating a blank document. Copy and paste any element or frames from what you're working on into that blank document. That is what you'll use to export using the AEUX plugin. This keeps designs you might be working on with a team separate apart from these exports that you're creating. Avoid repetitive comps being created within After Effects by ungrouping elements within any auto layout while they're in Figma. If this totally ruins your design, then do not worry about it. Undo and just understand that's another step that we'll have to do once we're inside After Effects. It's now time to send these brand guidelines over into After Effects and add some motion. Open After Effects, and go up to Window. Choose Extensions and select AEUX. A window prompt will appear. Inside the window prompt you have New Comp or Current Comp. Since we're starting fresh, you're going to select New Comp. We're going to use this for the initial import. For any additional elements that were not imported the first time, we can continue by using the Current Comp for all the other elements. Image Save Path is for any images within the Figma design. We must choose a specified location or a folder the AEUX plugin will send these files to. For any elements that we choose rasterize and export, they will also be sent to this folder. Comp size multiplier simply changes higher resolution outputs. Frame rate changes from 60 frames, 30 frames. You can just select whatever is best for the application you're using. And then comp durations allows us to set the timeline. Detect parametric shapes. I usually tick this box because it's something such as squares, circles, that'll be detected within After Effects. And those shapes offer a bit more functionality in terms of properties when it's time to animate. Otherwise, it's just detected as a path layer, and that's not what we want. Pre-comp groups, we can leave that unticked. Groups within Figma will become pre-comps inside of After Effects. And with this unchecked, the groups will become parented to a null object layer. We already kind of broke this down in Figma, so it's unnecessary to have it checked right here. Okay, with all those settings done, we can go in Figma and we can press Send Selection to After Effects. And here we have our brand guidelines in After Effects. We had some issues with the background, and that's simply because Figma has a frame with a fill, but After Effects does not recognize that fill color. So that's why we had an issue with the reference image here. Once inside Figma, we could then go ahead and clean up our folders using the same structure that I taught in the last video. You can always go and watch that if you didn't. But you can see we have our pre-comp, which is the same thing as the frame that we had inside of After Effects. Inside of Figma. You can see that our text came over live and editable, so that's a really good handy feature that AEUX sends the text layers over and they remain live inside of After Effects. We can clean up this folder. We didn't need that reference image because it didn't come over properly. But again, this is the folder system I taught you in the last video. We can drag our pre-comp from the project panel down to the layers panel, and that allows us to see it. Double click to enter into the pre-comp, and now we can see each layer is separated. To add in our background layer, we can put a solid, so that's Command Y, and we can just simply pick the same color from in the Figma file and apply it to that solid. So if we go over to Figma, we can get our 31, 31, 31 and just add that right in here to get the same solid color. Bring it to the bottom layer, and that's our background. The AEUX plugin also allows you to ungroup, or we can say like unprecomp layers. So that's basically the same thing as the group or the ungroup. And that can sometimes be handy when you want to control things layer by layer without having to go into the precomp first. Now let's add some motion to these layers of our brand guidelines. We can select all of the layers by pressing Command A, all except the background, of course, which we have locked. And we can do Option P, which creates a keyframe for the position. The keyframe basically represents a snapshot of what do you want the layers to be doing at this point on the current time indicator or the timeline. Each keyframe designates a position for each layer. We can move these keyframes over 30 frames, and then we know that at 30 frames, this is the position all of the layers will be at. Going back to the 00, or the beginning of our timeline, we can adjust that position. Let's say we move everything down, and now all the layers will be moving from the down position to that initial position that we had at 30 frames, based on the keyframes that we have set. You can simply press the space bar, and you can see that play back, and we can watch our simple movement in action. Now we can make it a bit more interesting by adding another keyframe on a different property. By pressing Shift Option T, that brings up the opacity keyframe. And opacity determines the transparency of each layer. We can move this over because we want 100% transparency at 30 frames. We can move it to 0% at the beginning. So now we're going from a lower position up from 0% transparency to 100% transparency. Setting keyframes for multiple properties makes for more interesting motion. We can easy ease these keyframes by selecting them all, going to Keyframe Assistant, and and going to Easy Ease or just pressing Function F9 on a Mac. And this makes the motion a little bit smoother. It adds some acceleration or deceleration between the 2 points. Otherwise, it's just called a linear keyframe. And here we're going to the graph editor, where we can add a little bit more finesse to each keyframe. The way that I do this for this many keyframes would be by using, it's a plugin, it's free, it's called Ease Copy, where you can copy the ease of a pair of keyframes. You can then paste it onto the other keyframes that you have. When it comes to using this many keyframes, it makes it a bit easier. We can press U to hide all of those keyframes, select all of our layers, press Command and Option, and we can slide the order of each layer. This offsets the timing, which makes the motion a little bit more interesting. In real life, nothing all moves at the same time. So when we offset our layers, we're kind of mimicking how things operate or move in real life. And it gives it a more interesting feel, a more interesting look to the motion. And with that, our motion brand guidelines are done. You can now just go and send this to the render queue. That can be a video. You can upload it on social media. You can put it on a website, whatever you want to do with it. But you now know how to get design files from Figma and send them straight into After Effects. As promised, here's 2 paid plugins that can help speed up this process. If you're not a fan of subscriptions, then Overlord is the one for you. It works with a multitude of software, from Photoshop to After Effects and even Illustrator, and it sends design files, even from Figma, into After Effects. Convertify. This one is on a subscription and can get pretty pricey. It does a lot of things and has a lot of functionality. However, like I said, it has a monthly subscription that's pretty costly. Thanks for watching this week's video. I'd appreciate it if you can leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Coming up next will be lesson 3 of our motion brand design process from scratch, where we dive into a motion brand strategy. Moving a brand is one thing, but before you start diving into After Effects and animating, you must have a strategy that is rooted in research. I'll tell you all about my workflow and how I go about creating strategies for brands so that we can create purposeful movement within their motion systems. Thank you for watching. I cannot wait to read some of your comments. Remember, always design with motion in mind. Don't be the designer who still makes static brands in a moving world. What are you waiting on? Subscribe now.